All right, get ready because today we're diving deep into something pretty wild. A self-published work called The Book of Wisdom. And it's not your typical self-help book, you know?
Oh yeah, definitely not.
It's well, it's more like someone took like spirituality and science
Yeah,
and conspiracy theories, all that, and personal development even, and just threw it all into a blender and hit frappe.
that's actually a pretty accurate way to describe it. The author, Revival of Wisdom,
Yeah.
they're really into this idea called syncretism.
Syncretism, huh?
Yeah, basically, they believe that all knowledge, like
Yeah.
across the board, is connected
Okay.
and leads to like this one unified holy science.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
And they apply this to like everything from the human body to like biblical stories
Yeah.
and even, get this, Santa Claus.
Santa Claus. All right, you got to tell me more about that. But before we get to Santa Claus, let's start with like one of the book's core ideas, this idea that you, the listener, are like a divine being made of light.
Right, yeah. The author calls humans humans.
Humans.
Yeah, suggesting that like our frequencies correspond to like colors in the electromagnetic spectrum.
So we're all like walking, talking prisms, basically.
Very much, yeah.
I'm following so far, I think. But what does all this mean for us, like practically speaking?
Well, so the book suggests that even our thoughts, like the things we think, aren't really entirely our own.
Yeah.
It says they're received from like this universal mental plane based on our frequency.
So kind of like tuning into a radio station.
Yeah, like that.
And the better your signal, the clearer the broadcast.
Exactly.
So like if I'm vibing low, I'm going to pick up all that negative static. But if I can raise my frequency, I'll get that clearer channel, like positive thoughts.
Yeah, that's the basic idea. And this might sound familiar. It's similar to like the law of attraction.
Right.
Or the power of belief, you know, where what you think directly impacts your reality.
So change your frequency, change your reality.
That's what the book's saying.
Yeah.
And one way to do that is by understanding like the power of your body, particularly the brain.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. The book dives deep into the brain, claiming that the pineal and pituitary glands create this thing called Christ oil, which is a blend of melatonin and serotonin, apparently. And this oil flows down the spine.
Right, and they interpret the story of Jesus as a metaphor for this process.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah, like the oil flowing down the spine is like Jesus descending from heaven, and then his resurrection symbolizes the Christ oil rising back up, activating our potential.
Wait, so Jesus is a metaphor for brain chemistry.
That's how the book frames it.
Okay, that's a new one for me. And speaking of things I haven't heard before, the book also claims that the thalamus, that part of the brain, resembles a cross, and that we can activate 100% of our brain capacity through this Christ oil process. Is there like any scientific basis for that?
Well, the brain is super complex. And while melatonin and serotonin, they're important hormones, and they are produced in the pineal and pituitary glands, this whole Christ oil idea and 100% brain activation thing. It's more metaphorical,
Okay, so maybe a bit of a stretch. But even if we leave aside some of the more out there interpretations, this idea of the brain as like a source of untapped potential, that's pretty fascinating. And it seems to connect to the book's exploration of like those non-physical realms, like the astral plane.
Yeah, exactly.
So the book describes the astral plane as this world inhabited by entities like, angels and demons and elementals. And it's a realm beyond our five senses where consciousness can like travel freely.
Right.
So like a super powered lucid dream state.
You could think of it that way.
And the book even gives techniques for like astral projection, focusing on your pineal gland, imagining a rope pulling you upwards. And it warns about running into negative entities if your frequency is low, of course.
Yeah, and while all this might sound pretty wild, this concept of separating consciousness and the body, it's found in a lot of cultures and traditions.
Right.
Like shamans, mystics, even some, modern explorers of consciousness, they've reported similar experiences, this feeling of leaving their bodies and traveling to other realms.
So the astral plane might be more than just like a figment of our imagination. But if it is real, what's it made of?
Well, that's where the concept of the ether comes in.
The ether, like the stuff scientists used to think filled the universe.
You got it. In the book, the ether is like this fundamental substance that connects everything. It's the source of the four elements: earth, water, air, and fire.
Okay, so it's like the fabric of reality.
Yeah, with one foot in the physical world and one in the astral.
All right, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So where do the four elements fit into all this?
Well, they're seen as different vibrational states of the ether. Earth being the densest and fire the most refined.
Okay, so it's a spectrum of energy.
Right, from the most solid and material
Yeah.
to the most, like, ethereal and light.
I'm sensing a theme here. Vibration and frequencies seem to be like the core of everything in this book.
Definitely picking up on a key theme there. And speaking of vibrations, the book also challenges some conventional views on the universe, cosmology, all that.
Okay, here we go. Let's hear what the Book of Wisdom has to say about the cosmos.
Well, it's pretty different from mainstream science. It argues against the heliocentric model, the whole idea that the sun is at the center of our solar system. It proposes this solar system instead, where the Earth is at the center. And 7 celestial bodies, like the sun and moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, all influence our lives.
Hold on, it's saying we should just ditch the whole idea of the sun being at the center. That's a pretty big claim.
Yeah, it is. And it goes even further, actually. It's just that NASA is using CGI images to, like, deceive everyone about the real nature of the universe. It even points to pictures of Earth from NASA, showing how the color is different sometimes, and suggesting that's evidence of manipulation.
Wow, so we're going full conspiracy theory now. I'm curious from a scientific perspective, what do you make of all this?
Well, you know, the evidence really supports the heliocentric model. Astronomers have tons of observations and measurements, going back centuries. As for the CGI claims, well, variations in how the Earth looks in photos. Could be because of lots of things, like atmospheric conditions, the angle of the camera, how the image is processed.
Yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily a cover-up.
Okay, so maybe take that with a grain of salt. But even if we don't buy into this alternative cosmology, the book's positive view of astrology is interesting. I think a lot of people might relate to that.
Yeah, for sure.
So the book says that by understanding your astrological chart, that map of where the planets were when you were born can give you real insights into your personality, strengths, weaknesses, even your life purpose.
Right.
It's not just about predicting the future then, but about understanding, like, your own cosmic blueprint.
Yeah, that's the idea. It all ties into this idea that those 7 celestial bodies, the sun, moon, and those 5 planets, they have this subtle but real influence on us. The book presents astrology as this tool for self-discovery. It encourages you to, like, explore the deeper meaning behind your astrological makeup.
Makes sense. I mean, astrology's been around forever. And while some people might think it's all superstition, there's definitely more and more interest in it these days. People want that guidance and insight.
It's true. And, you know, it's always good to be critical, but exploring these different perspectives, that ancient wisdom, can be really valuable for personal growth.
Okay, so we've talked about the book's cosmology and astrology, but one of the most interesting themes in the Book of Wisdom is this idea of the power of thought and intention.
Right, yeah. This is where it gets into the idea that you're not just watching your life happen.
Right.
You're creating it.
It's all about your mind.
The power of your mind.
So the book says our thoughts emit vibrations, and those vibrations attract similar energies back to us, like a boomerang.
Exactly. It connects this to the law of attraction, you know?
Like attracts like...
Like attracts like. And to show this, it talks about Dr. Masaru Emoto's experiments with water.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
Where water exposed to, like positive words, form these beautiful crystals when frozen.
They're amazing.
But water exposed to negative words, it formed these distorted patterns.
It really makes you think about the power of our words and thoughts.
Doesn't it? And if our words can do that to water, just imagine what they could be doing to our own bodies, which are, you know, mostly water.
That's a good point. If thoughts can change the structure of water, what are they doing to our cells? Our well-being.
It's pretty mind-blowing to think about. And the book takes it even further. It suggests that our thoughts don't just affect us internally, they actually shape our external reality.
So if I'm constantly thinking about negativity, lack, all that, I'm going to attract those experiences. But if I'm positive and I visualize what I want, I can make those things happen.
That's the idea. It's about realizing you're always sending out signals. And those signals are shaping your life.
And the Book of Wisdom gives advice for how to use this power.
Right. Absolutely. Like, it suggests listening to positive affirmations to reprogram your subconscious.
So instead of all that negative self-talk, you're feeding your mind with positive messages.
Exactly. It's about changing those old patterns, rewiring your thinking.
Support your growth.
To support your well-being. It also talks about visualization. which is used in lots of personal development traditions.
Visualizing what you want, right. Using all your senses, feeling like it's already happened.
Exactly. By doing that, you're creating a mental blueprint, sending a strong signal out to the universe.
I love how the book mixes these ancient traditions with modern techniques.
Yeah.
It shows these ideas have always been around.
It speaks to how powerful these concepts are and to the human desire to understand reality and our place in it.
But it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? The Book of Wisdom also gets into some darker stuff, like its claims about secret societies, particularly Freemasonry.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, secret societies, always a fascinating topic, sometimes a little creepy. What does the book say about Freemasonry?
Well, it focuses on the symbols they use, like the square and compass, the letter G, the number 33. It suggests that these represent like deeper esoteric principles, and that high-ranking Freemasons use this knowledge for themselves.
So it's saying there's this powerful group with a secret agenda.
That's how it's portrayed. This inner circle, maybe with bad intentions, wanting to control people and keep their power. It even suggests there can be serious consequences, even death, for breaking the Masonic oath. It uses historical accounts and rituals as evidence.
Before we go too far down that road, it's important to remember Freemasonry has a long history.
True.
It's a fraternal organization with rituals and beliefs that have changed over time. While some might see it as secretive, even sinister, Freemasonry also promotes things like brotherhood and charity and personal growth.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
We have to look at these claims carefully and not jump to conclusions. Understanding the historical context is important.
Right. It's about keeping an open mind and realizing there might be more to the story than what the Book of Wisdom presents. So we've come to some pretty intense topics, but the Book of Wisdom also gives advice for living a better life, right? A more aligned life.
Absolutely. And one big recommendation is veganism.
Okay.
It's a strong advocate for plant-based eating. It argues that eating meat can impact your energy and your consciousness negatively.
So it's not just about physical health then,
Right.
but spiritual and energetic well-being too.
Exactly. The book ties it back to this idea that you absorb the energy of what you eat, meat, especially from factory farms. It carries these negative vibrations.
Interesting perspective. But going vegan is a big change for a lot of people. What does science say about the benefits?
Well, there's plenty of research supporting a well-planned vegan diet. Plant-based foods are full of nutrients, fiber, antioxidants. Studies have shown that vegans tend to have lower risks of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, some cancers.
So there are definitely health perks.
Definitely. But it's important to note, a vegan diet needs to be planned carefully. You need to make sure you're getting all the right nutrients, like vitamin B12, iron, omega-3s.
So it's not just about cutting out animal products.
Right. You have to be mindful.
Okay, so besides diet, what other guidance does the book offer?
It emphasizes understanding and balancing the divine feminine and divine masculine energies within you.
Like the yin and yang energies.
Yes, exactly. The book says both are essential for a good life, a fulfilling life.
So the divine feminine is about things like intuition.
Intuition, creativity, nurturing, yeah.
And the divine masculine is more about logic, action.
Action, assertiveness, that kind of thing.
So it's about finding the balance between the two.
That sweet spot, that equilibrium within.
Makes sense. It's about integrating those seemingly opposite qualities to become a whole, balanced person.
Exactly. And this idea of balance, it ties back to the book's whole message of self-discovery and realizing your divine potential. You know, as we've been talking about these ideas, I keep thinking about how the Book of Wisdom, even if you don't agree with everything, it really makes you question things, see the world in a new way.
I agree. It encourages you to think critically, explore different perspectives, and figure things out for yourself. It's not about blindly believing everything. It's about expanding your awareness.
Exactly.
And that's one of the best things about exploring these unconventional ideas.
For sure.
They make you curious, give you new insights, help you understand yourself and the world better.
Well said.
So even if you're not ready to believe you're a human made of light, or that Santa Claus is a metaphor for brain chemistry, the Book of Wisdom will definitely give you a lot to think about.
Definitely.
It's a wild ride through all these different ideas.
It is.
Esotericism, spirituality, science, conspiracy theories. But there's still more to uncover. Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive. We're going to delve even deeper into questions about life, death, and the nature of reality itself. All right, welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into the Book of Wisdom. We've covered a lot of ground, like the idea that we're beings of light, those alternative cosmologies, the power of thought, and I'm ready to see where this all takes us next.
Well, we left off talking about the book's advice for living a good life, aligned, like advocating for a vegan diet and that whole thing about balancing the divine feminine and masculine energies within. Yeah. All this points to a bigger focus in the Book of Wisdom on like personal transformation and recognizing our divine potential.
Right, it feels like that leads naturally into the book's exploration of, well, life and death. That's a topic that's always fascinated people, always been a mystery. What does the Book of Wisdom have to say about it?
It offers a different perspective, than the usual view of death as the end. It presents death as more of a transition, a doorway to another realm of existence.
So it's like the soul is eternal. It continues its journey even after the body's gone.
Exactly. The book emphasizes that our physical bodies are just like temporary vessels for the soul, which is eternal and always evolving. It even suggests that dying is similar to astral projection, where consciousness separates from the body and enters another dimension.
Oh, okay. I see the connection back to what we were talking about earlier with the astral plane. So it's like the soul's taking an astral trip, but instead of going back to the body, it moves on to a new experience.
That's a good way to put it. And the Book of Wisdom brings back the idea of the ether here, describing it as this like veil between the physical world and the astral world, the world we pass through when we die, like a cosmic bridge.
I'm starting to see how it all fits together. The astral plane, the ether, the soul's journey. It's pretty mind-blowing. But does the Book of Wisdom say anything about what happens to us after we die? Like what determines that?
It suggests that our experiences in the afterlife, so to speak, are influenced by our actions and the state of our consciousness during our physical lives. So it's not just what you do, but the energy you put out there, your intentions. Remember how we talked about us constantly giving off vibrations? Well, the book's saying those vibrations continue even after death, influencing which realm our soul goes to.
So if someone's always focused on negativity, holding on to bad feelings, they might end up in a not-so-great place after death. But if they've cultivated love, compassion, a higher consciousness, then they're more likely to have a good experience, a blissful one, beyond the physical.
That's what it's suggesting. The Book of Wisdom really stresses preparing for death. Not in a morbid way, but by living a meaningful life, aligning with your purpose, cultivating a positive state of being, recognizing that death isn't the end, it's a continuation, another chapter.
It makes you think about how you're living your life right now. Maybe we should all be a little more mindful of our vibrations. So we've talked about death and the soul's journey, but the Book of Wisdom also says some interesting things about the nature of reality itself, right?
It does. This is where it gets really deep, suggesting that the physical world, what we see and experience, isn't really the ultimate reality. It's more like a projection of a higher realm that we can't see.
Like we're living in a simulation, a matrix.
That's a good way to think about it. The book suggests that our minds project our souls into this physical experience. And it's by raising our consciousness that we can, wake up from this illusion. It sounds pretty out there, but philosophers and mystics have been exploring this idea for a long time.
What evidence does the book offer to support this idea that reality is an illusion?
It points to things like the cyclical nature of reality, drawing parallels between the microcosm, the world around us, and the macrocosm, the universe as a whole.
Like the cycles of day and night, the seasons, the moon's phases. Those are reflections of a bigger pattern.
Exactly. The book suggests these cycles we see are like a small-scale representation of the soul's journey through life, death, and rebirth, but on a grand cosmic scale. It's saying the universe is constantly going through this process of dying and being reborn, and we're a part of that.
I see how that connects back to the idea of the soul's journey being eternal. Is there anything else the book uses to support this idea of a deeper reality beyond what we see?
It puts a lot of emphasis on symbols, saying they hold these deeper meanings that can unlock hidden truths about reality. It gets into things like sacred geometry, numerology, and the symbolism found in ancient traditions, saying these systems hold clues to the underlying structure of the universe.
It's pretty amazing how the Book of Wisdom brings together so many different types of knowledge. Ancient wisdom, modern science, even conspiracy theories. It's like the author is trying to create a theory of everything, using the syncretic approach to connect all the dots, to show a more complete understanding of reality.
That's a great way to describe it. And it all comes back to the book's main message, which is about realizing our true potential.
Throughout this whole deep dive, that idea of human potential has been there all along. So how does the Book of Wisdom encourage us to tap into that potential?
It starts by reminding us who we really are, beings of light, expressions of the divine, with so much potential. It says we've forgotten our true nature. We've gotten caught up in the illusions and limitations of the physical world.
But it gives us a way back, a way to remember.
Right. It emphasizes the power of self-discovery, exploring spiritual practices, aligning with our purpose. It's a message of empowerment, reminding us that we can break free from limiting beliefs. We can create a reality that reflects who we truly are.
This has been quite the journey. We've covered so much, from the esoteric to the practical, the mind-bending to the inspiring. Even if you don't agree with everything the Book of Wisdom says, it definitely gets you thinking, opens your mind to new possibilities.
It reminds you there's always more to learn, to explore, to discover about ourselves. The universe, the Book of Wisdom, offers one perspective, but there are so many others out there.
And that's what the deep dive is all about. Encouraging you to think for yourself, explore different ideas, come to your own conclusions. We've given you a glimpse of the Book of Wisdom, but the real adventure begins when you take these ideas and, see how they fit into your own life.
So stay curious, keep learning, and never stop seeking wisdom. Who knows what you'll find?
Until next time, keep diving deep.